Happy Monday, Brave Babes. Today I wanted to share something that was coming through, and that is that if someone leaves you, whether it be your mail list, your life, your subscribe buttons, your group, whatever it is, if they leave you, it's not about you. Sometimes people aren't ready to hear the message you have to share. Sometimes people aren't able to comprehend the changes you're making in your life. It doesn't have anything to do with you or about you. A lot of times we take it so personal. I know when I was going through my divorce, many of the friends that I once had, they all left. And it wasn't about me. I had to grieve those relationships. I'm not saying sometimes it doesn't hurt, but I'm saying that it wasn't ever about me. And when I look back at some of those friendships, they were very one-sided to begin with. So they, in turn, they really did me a favor. It doesn't always feel that way though, especially if we're in it. But I wanted to share this with you because people come in and out of your life. That's the way it's supposed to be. And a lot of times we have soul contracts with people. Sometimes they're short, sometimes they're long. But just because someone leaves, it doesn't mean anything about you. Hi, welcome. And that's going to happen throughout your life. You're going to have friends through different seasons of your life, and some will be with you forever and some won't. And this is true for entrepreneurs as well. Like, some people will be with you for a while and watch what you're doing, and sometimes what you're talking about is just too much for them to take and to handle. And it doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean what you're putting out into the world doesn't have value, that it's not good. It just means they're maybe not ready to hear it, or that it's not for them anymore. And that's okay, because you're opening up space and making room for the people who are ready, and people who are ready to hear your message or ready to be in your life. So just because people leave, it does not mean anything about you, and do not take it personal. I know it can feel like a personal attack. It can feel like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why don't they like me anymore? Why don't they want to be around me anymore? But that's just not the case. Anything that comes up for someone else is never about you. Anytime someone's judging you or shaming you or projecting anything on you, that's exactly what it is. It's a projection of their own discomfort or their own feelings that are uncomfortable with themselves. And so do not take it personal. It's really about you being true to you. Like, you're meant to change, you're meant to grow. And sometimes you may not even recognize yourself. And I can say that sometimes I'm like, who's this new person here, But I'm just me. I'm just becoming more of me. And so it's okay. And it's normal and natural for old beliefs and patterns and ways of being to be released. And sometimes you may not recognize yourself, but it doesn't mean anything about you. And it doesn't mean that you're not meant to be who you're becoming. And if the people around you aren't okay with that, that's their problem. That's nothing to do with you. You're meant to grow. You're meant to change. One of my favorite little illustrations on this is like a caterpillar and a monarch sitting at a table drinking wine. I've posted it in this group before. I think it's just a perfect analogy. And the little caterpillar's like, hey, you've changed. And the monarch's like, yeah, you're supposed to. I love that because it's a simple explanation of this exact video. It's like, you're meant to change. You're meant to become more of who you are. You're meant to grow and release old ways of being and doing that don't serve you anymore. And so that means you're becoming more confident and more, you have more strength and more resilience and more experience and wisdom to share. And some people don't like that. Some people want things to stay exactly the way they are, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not the way we're meant to be. That's the reason shit gets shaken up in our lives, because we're not meant to stay the same. If we lose a job or someone leaves or the relationship ends or, things happen, it's meant to shake us up and change us. And so it's not, there's nothing wrong with you. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And if someone else just isn't ready for that, that's okay. You know, I just shared an example actually on my newsletter today that like my mom, I love her dearly, but she says to me all the time, like, oh, where'd my shy girl go? You know, because I was very painfully shy growing up and I never used my voice and I had a really difficult time standing in my power and being who I am today. And that's very different for her. And she just is like in awe that that has happened. But it's because I've been doing the work and because I've been looking at all the shit that was in there and that needed healing so that I could stand and use my voice and be true to who I am. But that doesn't mean that I'm not okay. And it doesn't mean that we have to no longer connect, right? It's like, I just have to accept her where she's at and know that she can't meet me where I'm at. I have to meet her where she's at. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It just means that sometimes when you know better, you have to do better. And when you are more advanced, and that doesn't mean better or worse, that just means when you're further along on your journey and maybe some people are not quite there or they're not aware of how they show up and how they behave, it just means you have to be the one to be more loving and accepting of where they're at. I know that sucks sometimes, but that's part of the gig. So when you're conscious and you're awake, you're the one that knows better, so you have to do better. So now that does not mean you have to tolerate bad behavior. That just means you have to be able to meet them where they're at. Love them, accept them where they're at, find a common place or point of connection, and just be okay with that. And for the people who leave, again, you just have to be okay with that too. I experience that in my business all the time. Like I'll have fluctuations where like a bunch of people will join my mail list and then I talk about one topic and like a bunch of them leave, right? That's the way it goes. Like, and it doesn't mean anything about you. I used to take it really personal and be like, what am I saying that's wrong? You know, no. I've come to realize and know and trust that the message that I'm sharing has value and what I'm sharing and putting out into the world is meaningful. And it just means that some people aren't ready to go there yet. And that's okay. And I may not be for someone. And that's okay too. And the same is true whether you're in business or whether in your personal life. Like just because someone else isn't ready for your growth doesn't mean you should stop growing. It's one of the biggest things I see like my clients holding themselves back is for fear that, oh my God, if I become who I feel I'm becoming, if I become more strong or more confident or more empowered, then people will leave. Then I say, you know what? Let them go. Like, let them go. You cannot hold yourself back from becoming who you know you're meant to become and who you are in the process of becoming. And if someone's not ready for that, that's okay. Like, let them be. But what you get to do is be a strong, brilliant light in the world. And when you show your light and you shine your light bright and become empowered and be, you know, centered in your truth and your knowing, you give permission for others to do the same. For people who are ready, they will show up and they will be there and they will be there with you 110%. So it's not your job to play small. It's your job to shine bright and become more of who you're meant to become. So notice, this is something that I practice often. Notice who you make yourself small around. Who do you shrink for? Because that is where the work needs to happen. Where you shrink and where you keep yourself small is where you need to expand and let yourself be more of who you are. And, excuse me, and again, if someone leaves, it's okay. And it's okay to grieve that loss too. I went through that process of grieving the people who I thought were my friends, you know, when I went through my divorce. And just because they left didn't mean anything about me. it just made me really look at those relationships and realize that they were really never for me to begin with. They were around and they loved my energy and they, you know, were happy to accept anything I'd give them. But when it came to receiving and to giving back to me, it was very one-sided. And so it really showed me like who my true friends were. And just because some of those people left, I will tell you, it opened up space for new people and people who are really got my back. And that's what this whole process will teach you. It's a process of letting go and allowing new to come in. And when you do that, it opens up space for people who are meant to be in your life and meant to really be your biggest supporters and fans. So, again, if they leave, let them go. And it does not mean anything about you, whether it be in your business, in your personal life, in your relationships, in family. It is so important. I just want to stress this, that it's so important that you do not take this personal. It's not about you. It's about where they're at and if they're ready to change or not. And it's not up to you to change them. They have to be willing to do the work. So you do you, keep being you, and watch where you're shrinking for people. I love you, and I will see you later. Mwah! I'm gonna go make some porch porn right now. I mean, let me be clear. I'm not actually making porn on the porch. I'm just making my porch so amazing that it's like, you know, it's like porch porn. Just really good style and design. That's what I'm going to make. Okay? Let's just be clear. No porn will be involved. Bye, guys.